Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Points with KPI, episode 28. Today, I'm back with Dan and Eric. We are here to talk about another blog post that Eric has done this week. This week, it's all about social media, the trap that it causes, and also the help that it can bring. So like last week, just give a little bit of a broad explanation, and we'll go into details about the blog.
Obviously, we've had a big shift towards social media in our society, and it's the main way we consume information. The social media, not only the apps, but the websites are the most visited websites in the world. So it's become the core of our life and our communication and how we interact with each other and how we promote and how we message. Obviously we use it a ton for our advertisements and telling our story here. But really kind of what we're going to get into today is the trap side of things. It's like, hey, people have taken the power of social media and they leverage it in a way that's dangerous, and it alters reality to a certain extent.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that a lot with the young players, and we're going to first get into the aspect of the athlete and social media. Now, a lot of people have bad connotations with this social media stuff because it's perceived as bragging, or you can be like, well, why would a coach want to see you do that on social media? But I want you, Eric, to go into how these athletes can use social media to not only progress them on the baseball side, but just help their personal brand by themselves.
There's nothing wrong with self-promotion. Social media has led to the concept of branding for athletes, and there's nothing wrong with it. And now with the NLI stuff, or the NIL stuff at college baseball, like they're theoretically, if you go to the right school, there could be some money made off that. So, social media gives every individual a platform basically, and they're able to advertise themselves, promote themselves, and do good that way and make money for themselves to a certain extent. So, some schools recruit a little bit on social media now in colleges. So there's certainly a value to it and a place for it if it's used correctly.
Absolutely. So Dan, I want now getting into the more personal sides of things. You see these athletes, you see them in the facility on their phones wanting to post social media. How have you seen them take a liking to what we have done with social media, and how have you seen them progress towards that?
I think in a positive way, that platform piece is important, and I think that knowing that you're going to be able to promote yourself. Here's my progress. Here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm going. I think that the piece that gets everyone caught up on is social media is a highlight reel.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to portray, this one moment, this one pitch, this one second. It's awesome, but it's also, that's just one piece. So trying to balance that, I think, kids getting caught up where it's cool, like get to the moment to post a committed, but not understanding the amount of work that went in the background that got you to that point, and then knowing that, hey, that's just one small, minuscule step in that process.
Yes.
I think keeping context and perspective is important.
And that's where the trap comes into place, right? Like when the athlete starts to move into the area where they're trying to deceive, they're not portraying themselves accurately on social media, and they're sending a fake message. There's a lot of recent studies out there about social media and the effect it's having on people and the certain personality traits it brings out. One of the strongest correlations with low self-esteem is posting a lot on social media or posting false stuff on social media. So from our point of view, we want to build up self-esteem. It's part of what we do in here with our training. And if athletes are putting stuff out there for perception, they want people to perceive them a certain way, because even though it's not reality, that's a real dangerous place for a young athlete to be.
And that's a lot of things people miss in regular social media. For anybody that's an athlete or non-athlete out there, know that social media is the best part of people's lives. People don't show the parts that are not good just because of the aspect, like you said, they don't want that perception of my life is not great, because everybody else is having this great life on social media. Now we are going to transfer over from the athlete side, and we're going to go back a generation to now the parents. So the parents have grown up with no social media, right? You have to get all your news on a newspaper. You have TV, internet just starting to come up now. Talk about how you've seen certain parents either handle it well or have hindered their child's success because they're saying social media is not a good thing.
I think it all starts with the premise that parents want what they want, what their kids want. So if a kid wants to be great at baseball, a kid wants to be great at training, or whatever it is, the parents want that desperately. Okay, so it all starts with that premise, and that's a good thing. Like, that's part of being a parent. Where it kind of moves into the dangerous phase is when they're participating with their children in the false perception aspect of this thing, where they're putting intentionally misleading things out there to back their kids' up. Or a lot of times the kids don't even like it. The kids are on the flip side. They know the reality, and their parents are trying to sell something to the community, basically, this false notion of what reality is. And now we're teaching the kids, basically, that's not how life actually works. You know, in our world, in our jobs, in our professional careers, we're not allowed to fake it. You know, we have to really be good at things. So I think there's going to be a big disconnect as this generation, the social media generation, grows up, especially with parents that were overbearing on social media and put out a lot of falsehoods on social media, that they're not going to be prepared for the struggles and the challenges that the real world will present them, because they've lived in this fantasy world on social media for so long.
Yeah. So Dan, I want to once again correlate to the facility. How have you seen, because at times there is cameras in the facility. There's cameras walking around, people with cameras. Have you seen the parents take a negative side to that? Or have you seen them kind of be like, wow, this place is kind of futuristic, it's progressive? How have you seen them take that?
I think all humans want attention. And if they can get attention through their children, their jobs, their hobbies, whatever they may be, and then obviously social media is a platform for them to get that information out there and then attention from it. I don't think most parents take what we do in posting online and promoting results or promoting progress or highlights, whatever it may be. I don't think they take it in a negative way, and we haven't received that feedback. Yes. I think that there is a component that we are very cognizant of trying to make sure that we cover as many athletes as possible. It's not just the 1%. It's not just the D1 athletes. It's not just the kids who are the stars, because they already get plenty of that attention anyways. We try and promote all athletes, all progressing, all getting better. And so that's why we try and have it pervasive. We have it as part of every facet of what we do, because some kids do awesome things that you never see.
Sure.
And we want to try and catch that and highlight them doing cool things, whether it's in the weight room, whether it's during their warm-ups or in the cages or out on the fields. And so I personally haven't run into anybody from a negative standpoint. Yeah. I think there is a small contingent of people who are intelligent in the right that, okay, we do need to have some level of control. I don't want my child posting things that are inappropriate or things that could hinder maybe job prospects when they get older, things that they're just not aware of when you're 14 to 15 years old. But that's just my personal experience.
I think the only pushback I've really received on what we post on social media is that I've heard some criticism that we only post the high velocity guys. Yeah. And I think that's actually not true, right? We post, anyone PRs in here, they get a post basically. Yep. And we highlight different athletes with our different segments and our stories and stuff like that of all levels. But what it kind of nods towards is that sensationalism of it. Like, people are they're going to remember the high velocity post we made, not the rest of the post, but they're going to gravitate, and that's going to stick with them, even though it's not reality. So it does lend itself towards the power of social media, and we know for a fact, and that's kind of how social media's got so popular, that people are gravitate towards sensationalism. Like, people want to know the outlier stuff, and that's really kind of what drives people on social media.
Absolutely.
And I think as we've learned in bringing you on board is that unfortunately those posts also get pushed to the front of your threads and your feeds. So any interaction you have, a like, a retweet, a comment, any of that, boosts that post, so it does get seen more, because that's what the system wants to happen.
Yeah. So our number one performing post this year was Aiden hitting 98.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't boost it. We didn't pay any ads for it. We actually didn't even participate in the comments really. It got shot up everyone's feed because it was an outlier event.
Absolutely.
It's even this, at least what I've understood. Like, if you watch the entire video, that gets calculated into that algorithm, because they want captivating stuff. They want you on their platform. They want you to be on Instagram.
Absolutely. It's a big thing in this generation now for instant gratification. I don't want to wait around 10 seconds for some kid to go through his windup and then pitch. I need to see the pitch right now. And I think that's also hindering us, because we're losing that patience that the older generation did have, and the calmness. The comment and the savvy that you guys all have, professionally and non-professionally, just in your lives, the ability to kind of assess situations. And you see that a lot now in the younger generation. Is it's just, as soon as something, for instance, hits the fan, it's just chaos, because we've never dealt with that. We've always been stuck to our phones with instant gratification. And like I can say, you lose your phone, your life's gone. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how social media has portrayed this to today. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I actually think it's a good thing. We're moving forward. But I'm now going to tie this all together. Go ahead.
Let me go one more thing on the parents thing. I almost want to put out like a declaration to the parents to a certain extent. Like, we have a lot of great athletes that go through here. We know that. very rarely are those great athletes' parents really active on social media for them. You know, they kind of let their kids do the talking for them. So I want to kind of just throw that out there to all parents, like let the kids kind of do the talking for themselves on social media. Let them kind of tell their story to a certain extent. Of course, we need to give them guardrails. Social media can be a very dangerous place. We all know that. But really kind of like, I guess, let them blossom on their own. Just like we asked when they were training in here, like there's no parents in here because we want them this to be their environment. And we're on the field. We don't let them coach them on the field because we want that to be theirs. Like let certain things be them and let them kind of figure some stuff out on their own and find their own way. And, you know, they're probably going to find a pretty good path rather than having this kind of altered path set for them.
Yeah. And so I'm going to stay on that topic because you mentioned a good thing. Like, we do separate the parents and the kids when they come into the facility. Obviously, you've been here for a long time, Dan, but how have you seen that side of the aspect just have the kids thrive, either on the field or in the facility?
I think what I've found personally is it very quickly becomes apparent if this is what they want to do versus their parent wants them to do. I think secondarily to that, it removes that external motivation. My parent is making me do this. And kids in the long run, they actually enjoy it. I use video games. The reason kids will go and play video games for incessant amount of hours is their parents not over their shoulder watching them do it. And I think that's that we not very talked about a lot. Where the reason, hey, I get to go into this moment, I get to do whatever I want within the confines of the game that I'm playing, and there is not somebody telling me, hey, you should go right. No, go left. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Stop doing that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Where we have the same thing in this way. Like if kids come in here and they crush it and they get after it, it's their work. If they slack and hang out in our team lounge and don't put the work in, we know the game of baseball and the game of softball is going to catch up to them and let them know, hey, you didn't put the work in when you needed to.
Absolutely.
So I think removing the parents from the equation is difficult. We still let parents come in for a first session, see the facility, meet the staff, all that. But giving them their own space, and I kind of use it against them. Do you bring your kid to your workout? Do you want your kid in Orange Theory with you?
Yeah.
Do you want them next to you on
Telling
the
you to push
treadmill?
harder?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you really no, this is your time and your space. You do your thing and you get on with it. So having that separation, I think, is really healthy.
Absolutely. Well, and we've talked about it before. It kind of kills that ego for the parent. It kind of just detaches it as soon as they get in the facility because they can't, like you said, they can't see over the shoulders. They can't put their input into what they think they should be doing in the workout.
And I think the one thing I think this is another thread, is typically the kids who work extremely hard in this facility, their parents, we almost have to beg them, hey, I think of an athlete that's from Gilbert, I don't see his dad very often, ever, and he absolutely crushes every facet of his training, and he has made a ton of progress lately, and it really is. I think we've earned a lot of trust there to get to that point, but a lot of times the athletes are very, very, very talented athletes. The parents are kind of removed, and there's a level of trust that's built there. And then I think the numbers and the progress back up that, hey, this process works, and then we keep doing that over and over again.
It's a cycle that everyone has their role in. We have our role, the parent has their role, the kid has their role, the biggest role. And when everyone stays in their lane, it usually works pretty well. But when the parent kind of gets too overbearing and all into it, kind of nods towards the social media thing, that's when it kind of can go askew.
Yeah, and I think the hard part with the social media piece for us is we're not really aware. You can tell when, especially when they're younger. When a younger athlete is posting highlights and stuff like that, you can tell it wasn't written by a 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old. But there are times where he'll tell me something I was completely unaware that was not the kid themselves posting that. So I think that's the hard part with the social media piece is we don't have the insights into it because we're not there.
Sure. So now, like you said, Eric, staying in your own lane, I'm going to bring another lane in. So we have the athlete, the parent, and now since COVID had hit, college recruitment kind of got a little weird, right? They weren't able to go see people, so now the only place really to go in the entire world was online. You had to deal with this firsthand with your athletes. How did you see social media kind of take over that side of things?
It became the only medium for a long time, especially in California, right? Like we were shut down for a very long time, and we opened up a little bit, and we shut back down. So we really didn't have organized youth sports here for about 16 months. Wow. So there was no opportunity for these colleges to go out and see, and because some of the stricter places like California, the NCAA didn't open up recruiting for a long time. So it brought about what we called COVID recruiting, which was really video-based, really tech metrics-based. Postings on social media became more important by facilities like us. We had plenty of we don't really highlight individual athletes that much as far as their metrics and stuff like that, but the few times we did, we got a lot of response from it. because that was college coaches were still getting paid. They had to do their job, so that's what they were looking to do. They really didn't have to go new places. But what's happened now is that's kind of stuck to a certain extent. Like the recruiting landscape shifted, and it didn't shift back that much. So the metrics-based stuff, the video-based stuff, posting on social media to a certain extent has some importance. But it also led to the rise of some of these scouting and recruiting services that kind of feasted on, one, the insecurities and anxiety parents and athletes have in the recruiting process. But then two, they saw the lane there during COVID and have really kind of played it well and really they've grabbed hold of the market to a certain extent on that side of things. Colleges don't necessarily use them a whole lot, but these recruiting services sell it to parents and athletes like, hey, we gather this information, we post it like this. This is going to lead you to get recruited by colleges, and it's I don't know, dangerous isn't the right word. It's a misguided process that I think it's a really good sell to parents and athletes. It's probably not very realistic on how things actually work.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, but you can also get the person that does it for the wrong reasons, right? You can get all of those followers and be like, hey, I can put your kid on here. If you just send me a little bit of money, I can put them on there.
Oh, yeah, it's all to sell. It's to sell a subscription, and I always joke, like, I've never seen a scouting or recruiting service kind of post online like, Johnny's really average and he needs to work really hard in the weight room. Like, they've never posted that before, even though that's the reality we know for 98% of the kids is that's probably what needs to be said.
True.
But because that doesn't sell profiles, so people always, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, people like to throw simple solutions at complex problems. Getting good enough to play at the college level and get recruited by schools, that's complex. Like, that's really, really difficult, and it's a really, really shady and tiresome process. Here comes the sell, right? Here's a real simple solution to your complex problem. You come to our showcase, we post your stuff, and then colleges are going to recruit you, and that's just not how it works.
Yeah. I think I want to go back to the COVID recruiting. I think the reason that it stuck to a certain extent is we had this wave of coaches coming in who were tech-based and tech-savvy.
Absolutely.
If we send a report to a certain school that does not use Rapsodo or TrackMan or HitTracks or any of that stuff, it's going to fall on deaf ears. And they'll take it. They're not going to say, oh, no, I don't want this information. But they're going to say, okay, that's great. I still need to see this kid play. There are schools now, and I think more and more schools, who I can look at a Rapsodo report and know, hey, this kid's got outlier stuff. Or if we dial this one pitch in, then all of a sudden I've got an arm.
So I'm going to cut you off, but would you say now more than ever that certain colleges have to step their game up to kind of match that technology side of things, or would you say that they're okay?
I think that, and I'm speaking.
Of course.
I'm the weight room guy. I'm making it very clear that I'm speaking just as I gather this information. I think that the middle and lower tier schools are going to start, if they bring in coaches like that, building out and having players who like I would never expected that kid to do that.
Yeah.
I went to Westmont College. They pump out draftees because they figured out player development and they figured out how to get and find that C plus B player and turn them into an A plus, and all of a sudden, I've got a bunch of studs here. And I think those schools will figure it out. Will have to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think the big ones, the big dogs, don't need to. It's like Alabama and recruiting for football. Like, they don't need to do anything because the best players are just going to show up on their doorstep. Yeah. So I think that's why that stuck around a little bit. I think with all of this as a whole, you just got to figure out how can I leverage the system to be in my favor, so I am using the system versus the system using me.
Yes.
And I think that's what's typically what happened is I feel like I'm at the mercy of all these outside entities and I have no control over this. So if I just pay more money, then I'm going to have more of an opportunity to play at the next level.
Yeah.
And that's no different than training too, right? There are kids who sit down with me and say, I want to play in the MLB one day.
Yep.
And they're senior year of high school, they weigh 140 pounds. It's like, you're crazy.
Well, it's like
I'm not saying it's impossible,
Yeah.
but there's the likelihood of that is crazy. And no amount of money that you pay me is going to increase the likelihood of that happening.
Yeah.
I'm still going to say, hey, let's get after it and see what happens. Don't get me wrong, because we've heard crazy stories over and over again.
So true.
Right? But I think that's what it opens up this opportunity for me to just throw $1,000 here, $150 there, throw this here, just doing this showcase circuit. I got to make sure my name's showing up over and over again, so these scouts see my name. I think that's the bad side. That's where it gets.
I think we just unearthed next week's podcast recruiting this.
I think we did.
Yeah. So I am not the recruiting person. I think I sit on the outside and I'm more from the athlete's perspective of like, if I was in your shoes, I'd probably be doing the same thing. it's a recruiting myth, like, oh, if you're good, they'll find you.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, yes, that
True.
is true. But there needs to be a level of self-promotion. There needs to be a level of networking. There needs to be a level of using these systems to your advantage versus you being used. So.
I'm going to ask a last question, open question. So we talk about a lot of the parents stuff, and a lot of parents do watch this podcast and they want to help their child get on that side of things. What advice would you have for parents that have not yet tackled social media? How would you go about that?
Support your kids and let them do it. You know, if it's important to them, they'll do it. When a kid walks in here, if it's important for them to get better, they get after it and they get better. If it's important for them to create a brand and do some self-promotion on social media, they'll do it. Let them do it. Yeah. You know, and like I said, give them guardrails. Like, hey, this is how we act as a family. This is what we do. You know, these are the lines we don't cross. Mm-hmm. But really, just like anything else, let the kids experience it and do it on their own. And you know what? They shock us a lot, but they end up doing it the right way. So it's crazy if we give them some structure and guidance and let them go a little bit at what they're able to accomplish. Yeah.
I think my advice would be, like, be present, use them, but again, use them to your advantage so that you get what you want from them versus them getting what they want from you.
And last thing I have for parents, and you know, again, we've kind of gone on a little tangent with the recruiting stuff, but it's related. Learn how to say no. So learn how to say no to this person inviting you to this showcase. Learn how to say no to, like, hey, if you buy this subscription, or like the scouting or recruiting service that wants to sell you that if you get a profile with them, will they get you recruited by colleges? It isn't how it works.
Yes.
It's the danger. That is the huge trap. That's why I kind of left that to the end of the blog, is because that's the hook. Yep. Is these agencies kind of feasting on insecurities and anxieties of players and athletes. Say no to invest in development, and the right things will happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could probably cap on this, like, utilize the free for as long as you can. There are a lot of free components to all of these systems. I do it all the time with some of the software systems we're using here, and he, like, comes over like, if we just paid this much money, we could have all these different tools. And we're like, awesome, we're ready to do that. Yep. But I want to exhaust all of the free before we get to the point where I have too many tools, too many things to do, and I have no clue how to use all of it, so then I actually don't use it anyways.
True.
And I think we find ourselves with the profiles is a good example. Yeah. Like, you pay a bunch of money for it and you're on there, but you probably would be on there anyways if you were good. True. And it's all free.
It's incredible how some of the top players in the state, magically they're the top players in the state, even though they've never gone to any of these, used any of these recruiting services or gone to any showcases. It's so weird.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
How they can just appear at number one.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
No, that was good.
All right. Thank you guys very much for listening to Talking Points with KPI, episode number 28. Once again, this is a blog-style podcast. Please go visit us at kpimh.com and click on the blog tab. It will be the first one, and it is labeled Leaving Reality, the Social Media Trap, written by Eric himself. So please go check that out. And let us know any comments on what other podcasts we should do in our YouTube and our other social medias. See you guys next time.
Sweet.